That hits the spot. Sponsor me, Wendy's. You know, you just need a Frosty. I can't stand all this heat. That's right, we're going to be talking about the Miami Heat today because it is Tuesday, NBA Tuesday. We're going to be looking at the teams that finished 12th, 11th, and 10th in the Eastern Conference last year. That would be the Atlanta Hawks, the Washington Wizards, and of course the Miami Heat. I know that pun was terrible. I'm sorry, it's hard to do these intros without Spencer, so just deal with it. So let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. So what the Hawks did this offseason, they bring in Chandler Parsons, veteran Alan Crabb, Evan Turner, and of course they drafted DeAndre Hunter. Well, technically they didn't draft him, but he's who they got in the draft. DeAndre Hunter at 4 overall. So the Hawks are obviously not ready to contend quite yet. They're still in that rebuilding phase. They bring in some nice veteran guys to help complement Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, a couple of other good young players. But ultimately, with these moves, I see the Hawks kind of staying flat. They're not really trending up. They're not really trending down. They finished 12th in the East last year. I see them finishing around the same spot. Actually, they might finish a little worse, but I don't think they got much worse. I just think teams that were behind them last year that I mentioned 2 weeks ago in the first video might just pass them a little bit. They might have improved a little more than the Hawks. I don't dislike what the Hawks did this offseason, but I don't necessarily like it. They weren't in a position where they were going to bring in any big name guy. It just wouldn't have made sense for them. So in that aspect, I kind of like what they did. They brought in some veteran pieces, should help continue to grow that team. I don't like DeAndre Hunter at 4. I mean, he could prove me wrong. He's a very talented kid, no doubt. Very athletic, big man. But I don't know. I don't know if I see him turning into a star or even a very good player here. But we'll see. Time will tell. Hopefully he proves me wrong for Hawks fans. But yeah, pretty average off season for them. They won't make the playoffs this year. Like I said, I think they'll be about in the same spot. Flipping over to the Washington Wizards, who finished 11th last year. They brought in Isaiah Thomas, Ish Smith, and C.J. Miles. So they bring in a few veteran adds there. They didn't really do anything else. As of this video, John Wall and Bradley Beal are both still on the Wizards. Of course, there's all the trade rumors, especially with Bradley Beal going around, so we'll see if he stays or not. And honestly, I think if I'm the Wizards, I'm trying to trade both of them and kind of just start a rebuild process here. Even if you keep John Wall and Bradley Beal, yes, they're a playoff team when those two are healthy. John Wall, in my mind, is one of the most underrated players in the league and has been since he's really entered the league. Of course, John Wall's coming off an Achilles injury. Who knows if he'll even play this year? I think he will at some point, but realistically, the direction of this franchise needs to go towards a rebuild. Like I said, even with them healthy, they're a playoff team, but they're never going to be more than that. They're not going to be a contender. So I think you need to start a rebuild here. Definitely trade Bradley Beal, trade John Wall. You can get a lot for both of those pieces, I'm sure, and you can really speed up your rebuild by trading both of them. So that's kind of what I think they should do. As for their ads, I mean, Isaiah Thomas, he can stay healthy. He's a solid player, but I don't really like that. Ish Smith's a good veteran guy. I have a soft spot for him as a Sixers fan. I loved him during the process era. But realistically, he's just a meh player. Same with C.J. Miles. So they really didn't do anything. So I don't think they necessarily got worse, but they really didn't get better. So I have them just like the Hawks, kind of even. I think they'll finish around the same spot as they were last year. And that brings us to the Miami Heat, who finished 10th in the East last year, a year after being the 6th seed in the playoffs. So disappointing year for them. So they made a lot of moves in that big 14 trade. The pieces they brought in basically from that 14 trade, well, they sent out Hassan Whiteside and Josh Richardson. And they bring in Myers Leonard and Jimmy Butler. So let's start with Myers Leonard. This is a guy who averaged like 6 points a game with the Trailblazers last year during the regular season, and then had a really good playoff minutes, and put up 30 in that elimination game against the Warriors. So he's young, he's capable, but ultimately this is a downgrade from Hassan Whiteside. Now Hassan Whiteside had a terrible, 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 terrible contract. So getting rid of that is great, good for them. But again, you do ultimately get a downgrade there. Now they bring in Jimmy Butler, who is obviously an upgrade from Josh Richardson. Best player on the team, one of the biggest names of free agency. So good for them on that. However, my concern here is Jimmy Butler is kind of on his own, much like he was in Chicago. So do I think the Heat will make the playoffs this year? Yes. Barring injuries, I think the Heat are a 7 or 8 seed. But again, I don't think they're going to be much more than that. And they still have some cap issues that they got to work through. You got to be able to build around Jimmy Butler at some point. It's not going to be this year, probably not next year. We'll see what they can do, but I don't like their cap situation, and I really don't like their roster as a whole. It's just, I don't know. It's just not there. Like the Heat, ultimately, I do have them trending up. So they were 10 seed last year. Like I said, I do think they'll be probably the 8 seed, maybe around there. If they are going to make the playoffs, it won't be higher than the 7 seed. They did get better, but just marginally better, in my opinion. I really don't think they got a ton better. But time will tell. So that'll do it for these 3 season previews. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Hawks and Wizards have a shot at making the playoffs? So what do you think the Wizards should do with Bradley Beal and John Wall? And what do you think of the Heat? Do you think they got better or worse or the same? I think just, like I said, marginally better, but we'll see there. Next week, Spencer will cover 12, 11, and 10 from the West. And in 2 weeks' time, I will cover 9, 8, and 7. So we're getting into last year's playoff teams now. And that is the Charlotte Hornets, the Detroit Pistons, and the Orlando Magic. So that'll be 2 weeks from now. I'll be back with that. And I will be back tomorrow night on this channel to talk the Anaheim Ducks, the Los Angeles Kings, and the San Jose Sharks, and give a season preview for them. So watch out for that. Leave a like, leave a comment. Again, let me know what you think, and smash that subscribe button. And I will be seeing you tomorrow.